Hi, my name is Melina Bailey, and I have converted to Islam for about almost 3 years now. And I would like to just discuss some common questions that that have been asked and how I had found out about Islam. Originally, I had moved down to North Carolina from Buffalo, New York, and my grandparents and my great-grandparents had all lived there, and they were Catholic. My parents were both born Catholic. My father is Polish, my mother was Italian. And then they, had met, and they ended up converting from Catholicism to a born-again Christian. We were in a non-denominational church in Buffalo. And then we had moved down to North Carolina about 8 years ago now, and we were still going to church, and then my sister had met somebody, and she said he was Muslim, and they were getting into a serious relationship, and we didn't know anything about Islam. My family didn't. We were really, dedicated to Christianity, and my sister had started researching, so we, welcomed him in our family with open arms, and we're really curious to learn about his views and his religion and stuff. And then, my sister and him ended up getting married, and then later my sister decided that before they had children, she really wanted to research the religion and to, make a decision about what she wanted to raise her children as, because she didn't want to raise her children, introduce her children in a religion that she didn't believe in. She wanted them to support something that she believed in. So she had started researching, and she researched for about 2 years, and then ended up converting and saying, telling us, the family, that she didn't believe in the Trinity anymore, and that she had done lots of research on Islam. And it was really scary at first, because we, have a lot of common misconceptions about the religion, and it was really scary to see a big change in her, and her belief system, and the way that she acted, and the way that she dressed. Interested in Islam at the time. It was really scary to see my sister go through a lot of changes and in her ideas. But eventually, my family had stopped going to church, not practicing Christianity or believing into it, but they had stopped actively going to church. At that point I was young. I was going through high school, and eventually I decided, I became confused about what I really believed in. My parents were saying one thing, my sister was saying another thing. So I decided that I really wanted to research myself and decide what I believed and what the truth was to me, and to not just accept what I was religion I was born into, and to actually research it, and either way it would make me stronger in Christianity or stronger if I wanted to convert to Islam. So that was my goal. I planned on doing that, but I never actually had the encouragement to do that. I was busy being a teenager, doing other things. And then my sister had ended up moving overseas, and every time that she had come back to visit for the summertime, she was a lot more religious, a lot more strict in the religion, and it was very scary to see these changes. And then she had introduced me to somebody. I'd met somebody that was also Muslim, and I had started a relationship with him. So then I had started a relationship with him, and before we got serious, we had decided that we were gonna separate and not see each other, and I was gonna really research the religion and really decide what I really wanted to believe before I started a serious relationship with this person. So then I had started researching the religion, and the first thing that I researched, that was my motivation, was am I going to continue a relationship with this person, have a serious relationship, because this is a big step of having somebody from a different religion and having an interracial, not interracial, but cross-cultural marriage is difficult enough, let alone having a marriage with
Ibrahim Danby, formerly Edward Charles Danby. I'm 38 years old, and I've been a Muslim now for 19 years. I embraced Islam in 1995 while studying at university, and since that time I've been trying to learn more about Islam and practice Islam. Was actually when I was quite a young age. I was probably around 13 or 14, and a new boy had come to school. His name was Suhail, and he was the first Muslim really that I had met. And he came into my class, and I was intrigued about his lifestyle, the way that he conducted himself, and the way that he showed a dedication to learning the holy book of Islam known as the Quran. In fact, it used to fascinate me how every evening after school he would go to the mosque and he would dedicate 2 hours, minimum of 2 hours of his time learning Quran, in the sense that somebody so young yet so dedicated to his religion. So this was the first person really who I met who was a Muslim and who really took his religion seriously. And then as I became older and I went to university, in fact even before I went to university, at college, I became friends with many Muslims and they told me little bits about Islam. I remember having a friend called Nadeem. He told me about how Islam was in complete 100% compatibility with modern science, and they would tell me little things about Islam and about the Prophet Muhammad, which intrigued me and it made me interested. And I suppose one thing that it made me think was, why are these people my age so interested in religion, yet I was completely really not interested in religion, or not really interested in my faith, which was when I had the opportunity to go to university. I was studying in London, and it was at that point studying in London that, as you know, London is very cosmopolitan. There are many, many Muslims, thousands of Muslims. And it was at this point then when I really started to think about Islam more seriously. I had a good friend who was a Muslim. And one day I decided that as my university was very close to the Central Mosque in London, I decided to make the decision of going into the mosque before. And I was really interested in exactly what happened inside a mosque. So at that point, it happened to be in the month of Ramadan. At that point, I made the first trip to the mosque, which for me was the first point really that I decided, or at that point then I decided that perhaps Islam for me is, I've got lots of literature, lots of information, and it really started to have an impact on me. And I started to think about Islam in a different light. And I really started to think, well, perhaps what I'm actually being told here, maybe there is some truth in it. And upon reading the Quran, obviously in the English language, and reading many of the books around Islam, I then eventually came to the conclusion that Islam for me was the truth. And it was at that point then that I made my testimony of faith, or the Shahada in Arabic, which I did in the mosque in London. And it was that point then my journey started as a Muslim, as a young British man becoming a Muslim. So then after I'd become a Muslim, I returned back to Nottingham, and which was my hometown. I then started to try and find out. Obviously, I wasn't a Muslim when I left Nottingham, and then tried to find out about the local mosques, where I could buy halal meat, and how I could start getting involved in the Muslim community in Nottingham. And I managed to find a very welcoming mosque. They invited me into the mosque and made me feel very welcome. And it was at that point then I started to practice Islam more, learn about Islam, and as they say, as the story unfolds from this point onwards. So now I'm 38 years old, I'm a school teacher, I have a family, I have 5 children, and when I look back at how I became a Muslim, it still surprises me to this day how I made that decision. However, one thing I can say is that I hold no regrets at all about becoming a Muslim. I feel spiritually content. I realise what my purpose in life is. Yes, I have my ups and my downs, as everybody in life does. However, Islam gives me that bedrock, that foundation, that strength of faith, which allows me to enjoy life. And I would never ever consider not becoming a Muslim. It's something which now is part of me. And God willing, I hope to die as a Muslim and to continue. So one of the important things that I'm really